Now it's time to set the goals for the next cycle of inflation. This way, you're always moving forward, growing, making money, not losing it. Imagine, have more freedom and more fun. Start a gold IRA with Noble Gold now and fight inflation. And this month, for every IRA above $20K, you'll get an incredible 3-ounce silver American Virtue coin completely free as a thank you. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold. Call 877-646-5347 now to find out more or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Again, that's noblegoldinvestments.com. Hey, Inspire Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. How's it going? Thank you so much for joining me again today. Please do me a favor, hit the like button and the subscribe button, and please also join us on the other platforms to be in a loop about what's going on the Inspire channel and to get the most uncensored, unfiltered content you could possibly get. So today I want to talk about something that I've been thinking about most of my life. I think ever since I was a child, as I can remember, I've been looking into the world and I've been always asking the question, why are we doing what we're doing? Why, as a child, you have such a clear knowing and understanding of what is good and what is not good, or what is right or wrong? It's kind of a no-brainer, and still you watch all of the grown-ups, all the adults in the world kind of do things that just don't make sense for you as a more innocent being. And as I've grown older, I've come to understand the whys better because I continue to ask the questions. Now, what do I mean by that? I look at this world and I see all the things that humanity, society, misguided are doing or is doing, and I wonder, how did we get here? How do we get to do things and manipulate and artificially change things that absolutely make no sense and are not aligned with the divine plan, or not aligned with our beautiful biology? I mean, there's just a few things I can think about that I want to discuss with you. It's like designer babies. We're seeing now a greater and greater push to artificially produce children in a lab and make them perfect, if you will. You choose the genetic sequences, you choose what you want to have taken out, you choose what you want to have put in, and then you look at things like we do on a mass scale, like abortions, late-term abortions, now after-birth abortions. I mean, this is now becoming something that's so omnipresent that you ask yourself, how do we get to this point? Where, of course, society's doing sex changes on an ever-increasing scale of insanity, where children, young, small children, even before puberty, have their organs changed and have their appearance changed and take hormones. I mean, we do, not to speak of nuclear weapons and all the other seismic weapons and weather weapons and all the other weaponry that we don't even know of. I mean, we do now human-robot hybrids infused with implantable chips and artificial intelligence, artificial foods, GMO animals, GMO, all living beings. And that's not to speak of all the secret experiments that have been done of the hybrids of humans and animals. And we're doing so many things that make no sense. We have a fundamental problem, and there's a fundamental solution. The fundamental problem is that we have come now to the way of living where we do anything we can do. And this is, when we say, I'm going to do everything I can, perhaps that is the most fallible thing, the most morally corrupt thing we could say. Because just because we have the ability to do something doesn't mean we should do it, right? Just because we have the ability to use machinery that can clear cut acres and acres of forest in hours doesn't mean we should do it. Just because we have the ability to do the things I just mentioned, like putting nanobots into bodies and messing with genes and mRNA sequence. I mean, we're doing so many things just because we can. And how did we get here? Where did we lose our way? Because if we look at everything that we come up today, all the technologies, invasive technologies, all that stuff, it must have come from somewhere. And it is my belief that because we have steered away from our natural ways of living, because we have steered away from a very fundamental way of living where we live with nature, where we live with the land, not just off the land, but with the land, where we live with animals, not simply mass produce and abuse animals, for our own lavish lifestyles. We've moved so far away from a community-based living. We moved so far away from a natural living that now we have all these artificially created problems, all these sicknesses, illnesses, psychological illnesses, warfare, conflict, all of that because we've moved away from a natural way of living, from a divinely connected way of living. So now we find ourselves in this situation where we're trying to find cures for the symptoms, or not even cures, treatments for the symptoms. And that's why humanity, society is on this false way of continually creating new technologies that will allow us to maybe work on a symptom, but never on a root cause. And the root causes, we've steered away from that, and we've lost our moral compass. We have lost our ethics. We've lost our principles as a society. And so anything goes. In my lifetime as a child, I remember there being debates in the public realm that were about ethics, that were about morals. These debates don't happen anymore, or they're so superficial and shallow that they never actually touch the subject. So how do we change the trajectory? It always comes back to the same thing. We need to start with us, our families, our children, and the way we live. We need to change the root causes. We need to change fundamentally how we live, return to a simpler lifestyle, to a more connected lifestyle, and also re-engage with our moral compass. Find that what it means to you, what some of the commandments that all spiritual teachings, from the Native Americans to the religious belief systems that were created over the last thousands of years, any kind of spirit-based community has some sort of commandments, but these commandments are fundamental principles. Do not steal, do not harm another, do not take another's wife, just the most fundamental things that we have steered away from. Also, do not mess with creation artificially, because if we haven't yet regained this level of consciousness that we used to have, where we could actually turn a blue flower into a red flower simply with our minds, some people show us this. Some people show telekinesis and other different techniques and abilities that this is actually within reach for us. But this requires consciousness. It requires focus, concentration, and the development of true abilities. So I believe our fundamental problem is that we're currently doing anything we can do. We're not putting any limits on what we're doing, and so we're seeing more and more craziness in the world. There is no moral ground on which we base our decisions, and there is no accountability to a supreme creator, not in terms of being the ever sinful being, but accountability in terms of respecting the creator and respecting the choices the creator made and respecting how he put things in place, and maybe even acknowledging that if he put it in place the way he did, that it's divinely meant to be this way, and that our human egotistical boxed will shouldn't interfere with that. So it has been said that wherever God puts things is where he wants them. And that's something to contemplate on. So my encouragement again is to reconnect with nature more, to go into a level of greater self-sustainability. And why is this also important? Because as long as you depend on a system outside of you, as long as we're dependent on the paychecks that we need to earn, as long as we're dependent on the food supply chain and on the power grid and internet grid, as long as we depend on all these things, we also in some way are very manipulatable, and we can be blackmailed into immoral actions, because so many people do immoral things for a living, not really wanting them to do, but not seeing a way out because they depend on the system around them. So when we become more self-sufficient, when we take our most immediate needs back and supply ourselves, and this is a process, of course, this doesn't happen overnight, but when we do that, we become our own masters again, and we don't have to do any immoral or unethical things because we don't answer to anyone anymore, because we cannot be controlled anymore. And so becoming self-sufficient, not just in your thinking, but in your actions and in your needs, is literally the best possible way how you can contribute to a more moral and ethical and just world. And so maybe these things that I've talked about and so many other senseless things that we do in the world will quite naturally become a thing of the past when we return to our true roots and who we were always meant to be. And so this is literally the path that we see as a wonderful possibility, a return to a self-sufficient lifestyle. And how will our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and the generations thank us? You'll see they will thank us greatly. They will look back at us, their ancestors, in love and appreciation and gratitude. That's how they will grow up, and that's what they will teach and bring forward. We will bring wisdom back into society. We will bring true knowledge, morals and ethics, elders, and a tradition of actually showing the way rather than dictating something. We will become the shining lights again for our children and their children and their children. And there are generations to come that will greatly benefit from what we're doing right now. So please, I encourage you, one day at a time, one step at a time, go on that journey with all of us and become the creator of something beautiful, something original, and a way of living that will fulfill us all. Inspired Tribe, thank you so much for joining me today. My fellow freedom lovers, we love you. We appreciate you. We think of you a lot, and we'll be with you again very, very soon.